we suspect it's definitely in the millions, perhaps upwards of 20 million people that were allowed into the country illegally by the previous administration.
Karoline Leavitt was once seen as a rising star in conservative politics, but that spotlight is fading fast. A shocking new court bombshell has just dropped, and it's the kind of revelation that doesn't just bruise a reputation, it can bury a career. Now questions are swirling, supporters are backing away, and Leavitt's political future is hanging by a thread: the rise and fall. Today, we're diving deep into the explosive court documents that have surfaced, revealing what many are calling the final nail in the coffin for Leavitt's already controversy-plagued tenure. But before we get to the juicy details that have everyone from Capitol Hill to Main Street America talking, let's set the stage with some context about who Karoline Leavitt actually is. Because trust me, this backstory is essential to understanding just how devastating these new revelations really are. Born on August 24, 1997, in Atkinson, New Hampshire, Leavitt made history when she became the youngest White House press secretary in U.S. history at the remarkable age of 27. Her meteoric rise through Republican political circles is something even her harshest critics can't help but acknowledge. It's like watching a political prodigy who somehow skipped all the usual career steps and landed in one of the most visible positions in American government. Leavitt's journey to the White House briefing room wasn't exactly conventional. After graduating from St. Anselm College in Manchester, New Hampshire in 2019 with a degree in politics and communication, she quickly found herself in Trump's orbit during his first administration. Her initial White House internship in the Office of Presidential Correspondence eventually led to roles as a presidential speechwriter and then assistant press secretary under Kayleigh McEnany. Talk about a rapid climb up the ladder of political influence. When Trump lost the 2020 election, Leavitt didn't fade into obscurity like so many other administration officials. Instead, she pivoted to become communications director for Rep. Elise Stefanik, flexing her messaging muscles and keeping herself firmly within the MAGA movement's inner circle. By July 2021, she was bold enough to launch her own congressional campaign in New Hampshire's 1st District. While she ultimately lost that race to Democrat Chris Pappas, the campaign significantly raised her profile and positioned her for bigger things. And bigger things certainly came when Trump secured his second term in the 2024 election. Leavitt, who had served as national press secretary for his campaign, was rewarded with the top communications role in the new administration. On January 28, 2025, she made her debut in the White House briefing room, immediately establishing herself as a fierce defender of Trump's policies and a combative presence with the press corps. But Leavitt's tenure has been anything but smooth sailing. From day one, she's been embroiled in one controversy after another. It's like watching someone try to navigate a political minefield while wearing a blindfold and tap shoes. Take, for instance, her very first press conference, where she falsely claimed that $50 million in taxpayer dollars was intended for funding condoms in the Gaza Strip. This statement, completely unsupported by evidence, set the tone for what many critics describe as a pattern of misinformation coming from the podium. It wasn't just a rookie mistake, it was a glimpse into what would become Leavitt's signature approach to her role: bold, unapologetic, and often factually challenged. Even more troubling has been her legal entanglements. Leavitt was named as a defendant in Associated Press v. Budowich, 2025, a lawsuit stemming from the Trump administration's decision to block the Associated Press from press events over a naming dispute regarding the Gulf of Mexico, which the administration insisted on calling the Gulf of America. This wasn't just a petty media squabble, it was a serious challenge to press freedom that had Leavitt right at the center of the controversy. Then there's her staunch promotion of Trump's false claims about the 2020 election. Throughout her public career, Leavitt has repeatedly claimed that Donald Trump was the legitimate winner, citing irregularities and chaos due to COVID-19 precautions, despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary and numerous court rulings confirming the election's integrity. Interestingly, The Washington Post reported in March 2025 that Leavitt privately acknowledged Trump's loss, suggesting a calculated public persona at odds with her private understanding. Talk about playing to the crowd. But Leavitt's controversies extend beyond the political sphere into her personal life, which has become fodder for endless speculation and criticism. Her marriage to 59-year-old real estate developer Nicholas Riccio in January 2025 raised eyebrows due to their 32-year age gap, which she described as an atypical love story during an interview on The Megyn Kelly Show. The couple welcomed their son Nico in July 2024 before their January 2025 wedding, adding another layer to the public scrutiny. On social media platforms like Reddit, users haven't held back their opinions about Leavitt's personal choices. In threads like r/centrist, her relationship has been described as gross, with terms like gold digger being thrown around liberally. Some have suggested her marriage was prompted by pregnancy, with one user user noting she was an unwed mother until the wedding, because apparently it's still 1952 in some corners of the internet. Her decision to resume her high-profile role shortly after giving birth has also drawn criticism, particularly from those who view it as inconsistent with traditional or Christian values. In Thebelwark, users have criticized her for leaving her newborn, arguing it contradicts the trad wife ethos often associated with conservative figures. It seems Leavitt can't win. Damned if she stays home with her baby, damned if she pursues her career. Welcome to the impossible standards faced by women in politics. Even Leavitt's physical appearance hasn't escaped scrutiny. Reddit users have noted that she appears older than her 27 years, attributing this to heavy makeup. Some have criticized specific features, such as her upper lip, while others have speculated that her appearance played a role in her selection as press secretary, with one user calling her a blonde, big-titted DEI hire, because apparently we still can't discuss a woman's professional accomplishments without reducing her to her appearance. Classy, internet, really classy. But beyond these personal attacks, there are legitimate concerns about Leavitt's professional conduct and qualifications. Her tenure as press secretary has been marked by accusations of lying and intellectual dishonesty. Reddit users in r/politics have described her as a liar who belittles media outlets during fact checks, despite the media being hand-selected by the Trump administration. She has also been accused of banning journalists who ask challenging questions, a claim that has fueled perceptions of her as evasive or untransparent. This brings us to what might be the most damaging controversy of Leavitt's career, until today's bombshell, that is, her connection to Project 2025, a right-wing policy initiative backed by the Heritage Foundation. Despite her August 2024 statement that Project 2025 has nothing to do with our campaign, evidence shows she contributed to its conservative governance 101 Inches training program and appeared in a video titled The Art of Professionalism. This contradiction has led to accusations of hypocrisy and questions about her transparency, particularly on Reddit and Thebelwark. Just when it seemed like Leavitt's controversies couldn't possibly stack any higher, we've now been hit with this court bombshell that's threatening to bring her entire house of cards tumbling down. But before we dive into those explosive details, let's take a closer look at some of her most memorable and problematic moments in the White House briefing room, because they provide essential context for understanding why this latest revelation could be the final straw. The controversial moments. If there's one thing Karoline Leavitt has mastered during her brief but tumultuous tenure as White House press secretary, it's the art of creating jaw-dropping moments that leave journalists scrambling for their notebooks and social media erupting in disbelief. Her press briefings have become must-watch events, not for their informational value, but for their unpredictable nature and remarkable capacity to generate controversy faster than a Twitter algorithm on election night. Let's break down some of the most stunning moments that have defined Leavitt's time behind the podium. Moments that, in hindsight, seem like warning signs leading up to today's explosive court revelation. Perhaps the most telling incident was the signal leak scandal of March 2025, when a journalist was accidentally added to a group chat with top U.S. officials discussing military plans against the Houthis in Yemen. It created a security nightmare that landed squarely on Leavitt's desk. Her response? Well, it was nothing short of breathtaking in its dismissiveness. During a tense press briefing, Leavitt confirmed that Trump had seen the messages but refused to classify the information as sensitive, a response many viewed as downplaying the breach's severity. When reporters pressed for more details, doing their jobs, Leavitt's composure crumbled faster than a sandcastle at high tide. She abruptly ended the press conference, practically running from the room as questions continued to fly. It wasn't just unprofessional, it was a vivid illustration of her inability to handle pressure in moments of crisis. Then there was the infamous tariff debate that showcased Leavitt's tenuous relationship with economic reality. During a March 2025 press briefing, she made the astonishing claim that Trump's tariffs are a tax cut for the American people, when an Associated Press reporter correctly pointed out that tariffs are, by definition, tax hikes. Leavitt didn't just disagree, she took personal offense, later calling the reporter's factual question insulting during an appearance on Fox News. It was like watching someone argue that water isn't wet, and being indignant that anyone would suggest otherwise. But perhaps nothing illustrates Leavitt's controversial style better than her handling of immigration issues, a cornerstone of Trump's second-term agenda. During her first press briefing on January 28, 2025, she defended a freeze on federal grants, targeting what she called illegal DEI programs and Green New Scam initiatives, and announced aggressive immigration enforcement measures. The language wasn't just partisan, it was deliberately inflammatory, designed to provoke rather than inform. Her comments on specific deportation cases have been particularly troubling. When questioned about the deportation of a Maryland father, her response was described by critics as having a mocking tone. This wasn't just a policy disagreement, it was a display of callousness that shocked even seasoned White House correspondents. In April 2025, another crack in Leavitt's professional facade appeared when she was visibly flustered during questioning about whether Trump's order to investigate Chris Krebs, who had debunked 2020 election fraud claims, constituted an abuse of power. Her evasive response and uncomfortable body language spoke volumes about her struggle to defend the indefensible. Adding to this pattern of problematic behavior was her handling of Project 2025 questions. Despite clear evidence of her involvement in the controversial initiative, Leavitt has consistently maintained that Project 2025 has nothing to do with our campaign, a claim that became increasingly difficult to believe as more facts emerged. It wasn't just a lie, it was a lie that undercut her credibility on all other matters. After all, if she could brazenly misrepresent something so easily verifiable, what else might she be hiding? Leavitt's confrontational style with the press corps has become legendary in Washington circles. She regularly accuses media outlets of bias and has been known to belittle reporters who ask challenging questions. There have even been reports of her banning certain journalists from press events, a deeply troubling practice in a democracy that values press freedom. In one particularly revealing exchange, Leavitt dismissed a question about voter fraud by a reporter, despite her own problematic history with the topic. During her 2022 congressional campaign in New Hampshire, she was criticized for promoting the big lie that the 2020 election was stolen while failing to explain how she knew her own primary election was legitimate. This hypocrisy, highlighted in a Granite Memo interview, has resurfaced in discussions about her credibility as press secretary. But it's not just her professional controversies that have made headlines. Leavitt's personal life has become intertwined with her public role in ways that have raised eyebrows across the political spectrum. Her marriage to Nicholas Riccio, with its 32-year age gap, has been a constant source of speculation and gossip. In an interview on The Megyn Kelly Show, Leavitt addressed the age gap, calling it an atypical love story, but emphasizing Riccio's support. This didn't stop the rumor mill, with social media users suggesting everything from financial motivations to pregnancy-prompted nuptials. The timing of her son's birth in July 2024, followed by her January 2025 wedding, has only fueled these speculations. One Reddit user pointedly noted she was an unwed mother until the wedding, a comment that reveals more about lingering societal judgments than about Leavitt herself. Her decision to return to work shortly after giving birth has also drawn criticism, particularly from those who see it as contradicting traditional conservative values. In R. Thiebelwark, users have criticized her for leaving her newborn, arguing it contradicts the trad wife ethos. It's a classic damned if you do, damned if you don't situation that women in high-profile positions often face, criticized for working, criticized for staying home. Even her appearance has been subjected to harsh scrutiny. Reddit users have described her as legitimately stupid and suggested her confidence reflects the Dunning-Kruger effect. Her overconfidence and spread of misinformation, such as falsely claiming a constitutional crisis from judges, have fueled these criticisms. Some have gone so far as to suggest that her youth and appearance, rather than her qualifications, secured her role as press secretary. One particularly crude comment described her as a blonde, big-titted DEI hire, a sexist reduction of her professional accomplishments that reflects the double standards women in politics continue to face. There's even an unverified claim on Reddit, alleging that Leavitt bullied a non-white co-worker in high school, encouraging them to commit suicide, with a note purportedly in possession. While no evidence supports this claim, it has contributed to negative perceptions of her character and demonstrates how unsubstantiated rumors can shape public opinion. Amidst all these controversies, there have been a few moments where Leavitt appeared to hold her own, brief glimpses of the political talent that presumably got her appointed to this prestigious position in the first place. One such instance was her exchange with Jon Stewart on The Daily Show, where Stewart mockingly referred to her as Trump's Gen Z puppet and criticized her over the Signal leak scandal. Leavitt reportedly countered by challenging Stewart on his past contradictions regarding free speech, a comeback that went viral and earned her praise from supporters. On social media, this was highlighted as a rare win for Leavitt, though critics dismissed it as scripted bravado. Her handling of questions about deportations has also resonated with Trump's base, who appreciate her unapologetic defense of the administration's aggressive policies. In her own words, but these moments of effectiveness have been few and far between. overwhelmed by the constant stream of controversies and missteps that have defined her tenure. And now, with this latest court bombshell threatening to end her career entirely, those rare positive moments seem like distant memories. Before we dive into the explosive details of this new court revelation, it's worth noting how Leavitt's combative approach to the press has contributed to the toxic political environment in Washington. Her regular display